Is anybody here from Texas? I'm glad you guys saw the light and made it out to California. Well done, because Texas is a different place. But spending a couple years in Dallas, I was going through the grieving process. I mourned a lot, and running was actually the thing that helped me get through it. That's where I felt connected to my dad. That's where I found the loneliness kind of went away. And the longer I was there, in those, going through those moments, the depression set in, and it just brought me lower and lower into this spiral. And running was the only thing that really kept me out of that and helped me escape that for the moment, and helped me feel close to my dad. And so about 2 years after living in Vegas, or in Dallas, this is about 2007, I decided to do another marathon, and really as a tribute to my dad. And in that race, through the training, but especially on race day, I felt a special closeness to my dad, because at that time I could hear his voice. I could hear the voice on that phone call when he was beaming with pride. And so it was that Dublin Marathon that I really got connected and really changed my relationship with running, was kind of in that Dallas, when I was living in Dallas. And in 2009, I decided to do the Vegas Marathon. And let me put this in perspective. The San Diego Marathon was my first one. It took me 4 hours and 35 minutes to do that race. In Dublin was the second marathon I did in Ireland, and I thought my goal was to hit 4 hours, and I was on top of the world by doing it in 3 hours and 57 minutes. But in Vegas, I decided that, I think I could really do better. And I expanded what I thought was what I was capable of. And I was shooting for a 3:15 marathon, so cutting nearly 40 minutes off of my initial time. And I hit a 3:26. And so to go from a 4:35 marathon to a 3 hour and 26 marathon, cut more than an hour off that, I thought that was a pretty cool thing. So I was bragging to my friends about what a great athlete I was. I ran the 3:26 marathon, and I was at New Year's Eve in 2009, and the girl who was the friend who got me into triathlons, was at this New Year's party. And I hadn't seen her since my marathon, so I'm bragging about what a great athlete I am. And she's like, yeah, if you're so great, why don't you do an Ironman? And I'm like, that's stupid. And I'm like, I ran a marathon. That took me 3.5 hours. You're talking about, what, 11, 12, 13 hours to do that? Can't do that. She's like, Luke, you're a third of the way there. I'm like, wait, that math doesn't quite add up. 3 hours isn't a third of 13, but she goes, you've got 1/3 of the event down. You should do it. I'm like, well, okay, that's a terrible idea. Let's just move on. A couple drinks later, it's New Year's Eve, we got the drink going on, and so she says, Luke, have you thought about the Ironman? I'm like, yeah, I thought about it. It's a terrible idea. She's like, but tell me about the marathon again, and how great an athlete you are. I'm like, well, I am a pretty good athlete. And every drink I had, the better idea that Ironman got, and so by 12:31 in the morning, I was doing an Ironman this year. And telling all my friends at the party, this is the year. I'm gonna do a Ironman triathlon, and all of you should be there to see me do it. And as it turns out, I did have one person that was there at the party, and she just walked in the room. Her name's Lyda back here, and she's the one person who said, if you do an Ironman this year, I will go with you wherever it is and be there to support you when you do it. I said, okay, great. You saw the picture of that guy, right? Like, it's a little skinnier, but the same look on my face, I'm sure. So the next day, I wake up and realize I was telling people I was going to do an Ironman triathlon, and it sounded far less good without the liquid courage, liquid confidence I had going on. And so I looked at the training plan of what it would take, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but I said, that's ridiculous. I can't do that. I looked at, for example, one of the days, this is a day of the training plan, it's a 90-mile bike ride followed by a 15-mile run. Like, I could do a 15-mile run, but not after a 90-mile bike ride. So I decided that I was, again, I came to my senses. I'm not going to do this thing that I committed to doing last night. But then I looked at the calendar, and the race that I wanted to do was in Brazil. And it was 5 days before the anniversary of my dad's death. And I started thinking, this would be the 5th anniversary of his death. And what would be a better way to have a tribute to my dad than to do this Ironman that doesn't even make sense. I don't even think I'm capable of. But I decided at that point that I had a pretty good reason. I had a pretty good reason to go for it.